We are live. We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are live. And this evening here on the huddle, I have a question for you. Are you a content creator who feels like you're creating content in a niche audience that you've identified that you want to create content for, but it is a very crowded platform, a very noisy niche that you're finding it difficult to stand out in so people can identify and connect with you as a content creator? If that's you tonight, we're going to talk about 5 tips to help you to stand out in a crowded and noisy niche on YouTube where you feel like your voice is not being heard. And we're starting right now. Praise the Lord, everyone. Welcome to The Huddle. I'm your host, Walter Strong, where it's our goal to help you as a working class content creator to grow your channel, get more views, and make money online. And so, as we said in our opening tonight, we're going to be discussing how to stand out in a crowded and noisy niche where you feel like your voice is not being heard and connecting with the audience that you're trying to reach with your content. And so, if that's you tonight, let me know in the chat where you're watching me from. Give me a hashtag Team Live in the chat if you're watching the replay of this episode of The Huddle. In the comment section, give me a hashtag Team Replay, and also put the niche audience and content that the niche audience that you're making content for on YouTube. So that way we can give you some feedback and have some dialogue regarding the niche audience that you're trying to create content for. Even those of you in the live chat, like my good man, Tech Troublemaker, hashtag Team Live, let me know what type of content you are making on YouTube. Who is the niche audience that you're making? And if it's a niche audience that you're making and you feel like it's crowded, let me know so that we can make this part of the discussion. So without further ado, those of you who are watching me either horizontally or vertically, let's get into the discussion on how to stand out on YouTube in a crowded platform. My first tip, a very simple one, but a powerful one. And that simply is spend time building your personal brand and not just your content. To stand out on YouTube in a crowded niche, you have to spend time building your personal brand and not just your content. I have Tech Troublemaker who's in the live chat, and so I'll use him as the example. This is a gentleman who creates how-to content, education content on YouTube to help people grow their channel and to get views and to be able to get their voice heard on this platform of YouTube. But what makes him stand out, I believe that's part of his brand, is the name of his YouTube channel, Tech Troublemaker. Now, you would first think, okay, he is a content creator who's creating content that's dealing with tech news, the latest technology that gets released, and the latest camera gear, the latest iPhones. Yeah, typically when you think of tech, but when you create yourself a unique name that can help you to stand out on YouTube in a crowded niche, you're ahead of the game. Unfortunately, sometimes, especially when new YouTubers or we as existing content creators are creating content on YouTube, and you try to find a person's YouTube channel name on YouTube, it's very difficult to find because maybe it's a very long name to be able to remember, or it's a, sometimes people want to be a little, tr- tricky. They want to be real. They want to put a little spin on the name so it could, and what they're thinking is, okay, if I do, Reggie X5 on YouTube, that's going to help me stand out. But then when a person says, what's the name of your channel? How can I spell it? Then you're going to make it difficult for someone to find you on YouTube, especially if you are making similar content that everyone else is making. If you're making content where there is a lot of noise in that type of content that people are making. And when I say noise, I'm talking about conversation. There's a lot of conversation that goes on about AI technology. There's a lot of conversation that goes on about podcasting. There's a lot of conversation that's going on about, you know, how to make money online. But how do you stand out on YouTube? You would think, yeah, making content is going to help you stand out. You figure if I make more content, and if I get more views, if I get more clicks, if I get more comments, if I get more shares, I'm here to submit to you, instead of just focusing on building and making content, spend time building your brand, your personal brand versus your content. Now, when I talk about personal brand, I'm not just talking about brand colors. I'm not talking about in terms of, brand awareness and marketing. I'm talking about what makes you unique, what makes you stand out, what makes you authentic, what makes your personality um different from everyone else that's talking about AI technology on YouTube or faceless channels, or or content about that's helping individuals to make money online. What's different about you? Because you are different. You are unique. There is no one like you. No one has your fingerprints that God has blessed you with. No one has your unique spin and your personality of what makes you to be who you are. So you are different. But just because you're different does not mean you can't bring something to the table of a conversation that's going on YouTube to help you to stand out, though it's a very crowded platform. So build your personal brand versus just building your content. As I said before, your personal brand can be your personality. Your personal brand can be your uniqueness. What makes you different? What makes you think about things different? Are you a person who's very analytical? You see things from an analytical approach, or are you a person who sees things always from a creative and optimistic approach? That's all part of your personal brand. Are you an extrovert who's comfortable with being around people, or are you an introvert? Whereas people have to, people tend to think that you are a very tough nut to crack. But when they get the opportunity to sit down and to be around you and to have a conversation, they end up finding out that you're an all right person. You okay. It just, it takes some time to know you. But yet you're an introvert. It's amazing on how many introverts are on YouTube, but they are in front of a camera. But we'll tell you that the way they are on YouTube, their ability to be around people in crowds, it takes time for them. But that's all part of their makeup of who they are, their personal brand. Most importantly, they're being themselves, they're being authentic. And the reason why I raised this first tip, because we're hearing more and more about AI tools. We're hearing more and more about AI technology and how far should we incorporate it a part of our content creation process. Tech, yes, I agree. We should use AI tools and technology when it comes to helping us with our titles, our thumbnails. I agree with you, and I agree with those in the live chat or those watching the replay that you should make better SEO friendly descriptions with the help of Chat GBT or Claude or Gemini AI tools. I agree. However, you shouldn't use AI and tools to the point where you feel it needs to replace you at the expense of trying to be in a competitive and crowded niche on YouTube that you want to be able to break through and break out in. You shouldn't let AI replace you. Your thoughts, your personality, your ideas. Before a lot of us that are here in the chat or even live or in the comment section, before we really started really using these AI tools and various things, we had to learn how to come up with our own titles and content ideas. We had to learn how to come up with our own scripts and video descriptions and various things and try to, trial after trial, mistake after mistake, trying to make thumbnails that we thought were the best that was going to get individuals to click on our videos to get us the amount of views and subscribers to meet certain milestones on YouTube. Now in today's times, people have at their disposal AI tools. Yes, you have vidIQ, you have one of 10, yes, you have TubeBuddy and various other tools that you can use with AI, but it should not replace you for the purpose of creating content. Because if it replaces you, then how are you standing out? How are you standing out? How is an audience going to connect with you? What I may find annoying about one person, another person may see that as something that's of an something that's a strong point of that person. But regardless of my perspective on why does he say it that way? Why do they act that way? They may say the same thing about me, but it's all part of my personal brand. It's all a part of your personal brand. So to stand out on YouTube, you got to build your personal brand, not just your content. So that's tip number one. Let me know in the chat, those of you who are watching me live, your niche audience of content you're making. Which brings me to number 2. You're in a crowded and competitive niche. Tip number 2 could be a suggestion of maybe trying to narrow down your niche. Narrow down your niche. If you are and we'll use the example of cooking. If you are a person who loves cooking, all various types of meals, and you're growing a cooking channel, and you want to be able to see the channel be exposed with new audience and viewers, and you're just at a certain point, maybe you need to consider narrowing down your cooking to a specific types of meal. Okay, if you know how to cook Italian and you know how to cook vegan and you know how to cook soul food, and you're putting all these different types of dishes on the channel, maybe narrowing it down to just say, okay, I'm going to now make some of the best Italian dishes for working moms who work a 9-to-5 job who needs to put a hot meal on the table. Now you see how I've just narrowed that down. You're still cooking. It's still a cooking channel, but now you've kind of eliminated the vegan meals. You've eliminated the soul food meals, though I love some good baked chicken and some candy yams and some macaroni and cheese and some nice iced tea, cold iced tea, okay, I want that. But if your YouTube channel is about cooking some of the best Italian meals for dinner for working moms who work a 9 to 5 job that need to put a meal on the desk, by narrowing that down, you put yourself now in a position where you can stand out in that crowded and competitive niche. And this is a lesson we can all learn from as content creators. I'm talking about not creating content from a standpoint from a hobby. And you see and you view YouTube as an expensive hobby. If that's you, I realize this may not apply to you. And I'm not going to knock you for it. If that's what you want to do as a hobby and experiment in different things, then we understand the goal is not for you to grow your channel. Your goal is to just kind of put great dishes and meals, or to make certain videos on certain topics and subject matters that's just appealing to you. It's just a hobby for you. It's just a passion project. However, if you are trying to stand out in a crowded and competitive niche, you have to consider narrowing your niche down. You have to consider, it's not putting you in a prison. It's not confining you into just one lane. It's putting you in a place of focus so that you can be able to stand out and not just make an impact in connection with your audience, but you make an impact in connection with your audience that leaves a legacy for generations to come. And it can be done. It can be done. Which brings me to tip number 3. Tip number 3, we've all heard it, but there's truth to it. Being consistent in creating content. Those who are consistent in creating content that connects with their niche audience put themselves in the place to be able to stand out. Not only to stand out, but to be able to place themselves in such a way where YouTube starts to really put their content more to the front of the line versus in the middle of the pack, especially when we are in a similar and crowded and competitive niche. It's like we're moving with the crowd. We're moving with you see one YouTuber says, okay, do this after every upload. And then what does the herd or the crowd does? They all make YouTubes do this after every upload. You want to blow up on YouTube? Then copy this. Everyone makes a YouTube on copy this. You want to make a video that's going to blow up on YouTube? Make a YouTube on how this changed my life. You see it all the time on the platform. And I get it. People are saying not so much as plagiarize or copy what I'm doing in my video, but to take the format, the formula that said creator has that they felt has made them successful, that will make you successful. But which brings me back to tip number 1. If we are so busy trying to create consistent content that is basically like everyone else, how can we stand out? But if we're building a personal brand that is based upon authenticity and our uniqueness and who we are, and it's not based upon trying to go consistent with daily content, but maybe making content once a week, twice a week. Ultimately, over time, you will be able to stand out and break out from the crowd instead of moving with the crowd, so that your videos will start to be more preferred, so that because YouTube wants to, as they all say, wants to test our content. Now, if you're fortunate, like some other creators who have an email marketing list that you can be able to put your content from, if you can go into a Reddit uh, group or subreddit group, and or on a Facebook group or some type of private community, and they all kind of agree with your content, then by all means, you do you, do you, boo boo, you do you. But for the most of us, we have to learn to grow on YouTube through through the tests, through the trials, through the triumphs, through through all what we have to go through on YouTube. And so you have to be willing to be consistent. Be consistent, because the more you are consistent, if you are live streaming, the more you show up, people say, "Oh, wait, okay. Walter's live every Friday night, 8 p.m. On Friday nights, he's live Sunday night at 8 p.m. Tech Troublemaker is live Tuesday night at 9 p.m. They're consistent. They keep showing up. Guess what? It's going to help you, help me to stand out. Hey, if you're getting great value out of this discussion tonight on how to stand out on YouTube in a crowded, competitive niche to find your audience, click that like button for me. Hit that thumbs up, like Tech said in the chat, hashtag Team Live in the chat. If you're watching the replay of this episode, please hashtag Team Replay in the comment section. Those of you who are watching me, maybe you can't put a comment in the chat at this moment that are watching me live because you got your hands on the wheel. Keep your hands on your wheel. Keep your eyes on the road. And when you get to your exit or to your stop sign, just speak into the mic and say hashtag Team Mike, Team Live in the live chat for me, or Team Replay in the comment section for me. So, which brings me to tip number 4. Gave this quite a bit of thought, but I believe there's some truth, there's some nuggets to this tip, and that simply is leverage the features that others overlook. I'll say that again. Leverage the features that other content creators overlook. What do I mean? YouTube is constantly releasing updates. They're constantly releasing new features, and like any type of new platform that releases new features and updates, over time, the features and updates that were popular 30 days ago, 90 days ago, they start to kind of like make their way to the bottom. And what happens, people go after the shiny objects, or they just stay with the ones that are the most consistent. But have you ever thought and considered, it's interesting, there was a period of time, correct me if I'm wrong, Tech, before you to be able to get into the YouTube Access community tab, you had to had reached the threshold of 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. Then they went from 500 subscribers to 3,000 hours of watch time. And then they said, okay, we're just going to make it available to everyone. And then they went from the community tab to changing it to the post tab. I still refer to it as the community tab. And as a result, people have just, it's kind of, if put it in the chat for me, those of you who are watching me live, how often are you on your post tab putting information? A week, once a week, twice a week, once a month, 2 times a month? My point is, there are features that YouTube and updates that YouTube has already released that sometimes can be used as an aid and a benefit in our growth of our channel. And people overlook it. They tend to forget it because now there's a new feature out with, YouTube collabs or YouTube Ask Studio. YouTube is rolling out features and updates regarding YouTube Shorts. But it's those features that have already been released, those updates, that sometimes get overlooked, that we can utilize, that can be used to our advantage to help us to stand out in a crowded and competitive niche. And so whatever that feature is for you that you find that's working, but others are not using, Don't get discouraged because, you know, the next shiny new feature or update and thinking you got to kind of forsake it because you're hearing the promise of how it's going to be so beneficial. Stick with what works. Though it's not the popular, it's not the prettiest looking girl in the classroom right now that all the boys are looking at. You get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. I don't say Mishamim Storm. Hashtag Storm. Want to say greet you this tonight here in the live chat. Thank you for dropping in. Trust you, trusting your instincts, bro. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that vote of just keeping myself encouraged and staying, faithful to the content. Thank you for that. Sometimes I'm glad you picked that up. I'm glad you picked that up. But I'm glad you're a part of the chat tonight. So, leveraging other features that sometimes most content creators are overlooking. That's tip number 4. Tip number 5, document your journey. Document your journey. However, if it's on pen to pad, Google Doc, Word Doc, through just voice dictation on your phone, on your iPhone, however you feel comfortable, document your journey. When you hit that threshold of 500 subscribers and 3,000 hours of watch time, document the journey. When you see a video that takes off and you were averaging anywhere from 25 to 50 views, and now you got a video that's at 250 to 500 views on uploaded videos, document the journey. When you released a couple of videos or done a couple of live streams and they just went completely flat and they just tanked and bottom, you did everything that you normally do, but they just didn't connect. Document your journey. Document your successes. Document your struggles. Document your small victories. Document your mistakes. And what you will find over time through you documenting your journey, and I'll throw this added in as you look at your YouTube analytics, incorporate that with what you're documenting, you will begin to see a pattern starting to form before you on what's starting to work and what's not working. I'll say that again. Over time, you will start to see a pattern. You will start to see trends on what's working and what's not working. And then that will give you the resources to be able to say, okay, now I know how to stand out. When I make videos on this particular topic, even though I feel that this is a great topic to make a video on, every time I tend to go to the well once, 2, 3 times out of a year, this video just does not perform. However, when I come over here and I start to make content on how to be able to improve and grow your YouTube channel through going in and utilizing certain things in the YouTube studios, and when you see that those videos start to take off, document the journey. And then use that as the resources that you need to help you to stand out on YouTube, to grow in a crowded and in competitive niche. My final thoughts on this topic and the discussion is, being in a crowded and competitive niche, sometimes we can view that as a disadvantage. I don't believe we should see it that way, because first of all, it's a proven audience of people that people want to be able to hear from content creators like me and you from. Whatever it is that you're making on YouTube, if it's cooking, if it's gardening, if it's YouTube how-to videos, if it's tech and business like James Hicks, if it's productivity and purpose like Florence Donald, if you're finding other individuals are making content and there's an audience, it's a proven audience. However, it's also an opportunity, not however, but also it is an opportunity for you to sit down and to strategize and come up with a content strategy and planning out your content so that you can stand out, though it's crowded, so though you can move from the crowd in front of into the front of the line, though it's competitive. So don't just view it as it's a disadvantage. View it as an advantage because you're creating content in a proven area where there's demand. And as we just said on Friday, if you want to find your niche, part of finding your niche is, yes, your passion, your proficiency, you being able to have ability to make a profit, but there's a demand for your content. And so you are in a crowded and competitive niche because there's a demand for it. There's a demand. Think about how many leadership books are there if you go onto Amazon and type the 10 best leadership books in the search bar of Amazon. There are going to be 10 top books. How many productivity books are there? If you go and you go look in terms of the 5 best tires for an SUV for said Ford or Chevy, you're gonna get Michelin. You're gonna probably get Michelin and Firestone coming up. Okay, just because everyone's do it, does that mean you get discouraged and say, "Oh, okay, I'm trying to create content on YouTube and it's just too crowded. Maybe I need to change and go to another channel." Maybe you don't. Maybe you need to go ahead and buckle down, put on your big boy pants, and start developing your skills on YouTube. Develop your skills, your presentation skills on how to present content on camera or going live. Put on your big boy pants and start developing your skills when it comes to your video packaging and developing your skills when it comes to editing. I'm just throwing some different skills, whatever it is that you need to do. So that way you don't get discouraged going from channel to channel. Okay? So that's the content tonight. Give me a hashtag Team Live in the chat. If you gotten great value, give me a hashtag Team Value. And if you are new to the huddle tonight, joining us either by live or replay, and what we've talked about tonight has, made some sense to help you to be able to approach your strategy on YouTube from a different perspective, click that thumbs up for me and hit the subscribe button for me. Subscribe to the channel and click the alert notification button so you're going to be alerted when we go live every Friday and Sunday night, or when we upload a new video. You'll be there first to be able to get what you need. So, hey, that's the content. We're excited. Friday night, we have 24-hour Boris on here as a guest, Mr. Brian Hill, who's going to be our guest. And we're going to be talking about the 7 creator skills that you need to be able to grow your YouTube channel and double your views. That's right, I said it. 7 proven creative skills that you need to start working on so that you can double your views and grow your YouTube channel. And so our guest will be Mr. Brian Hill, 24-hour boss, who will be with us live here on the huddle. We're bringing guests back. And so I'm excited about his first time here on the huddle. So we look forward to seeing you bring your questions, bring your comments, and bring, just your feedback on some of the skills you need help on to work on. Maybe it's communication, maybe it's presentation, maybe it's editing, whatever it is, bring it to the table so that we can huddle up here on Huddle and encourage one another. And so that's the content. We're going to bring this train into the station. I want to thank Tech, and I want to thank those of you who have been watching us live tonight. Those of you watching the replay, have a good night. We will see you on Friday night. Angela.